not our decision, we going in and we killing. Better get in position. Listen, this is not a drill, this the real thing.
SAN.
This a real team, six skater protocol. How are we supposed to fall? Blow the doors, run inside, clear the corners, hold the wall. Cover me, I'm going in. Look around and go right.
Sports card.
Nation is depending on us. Put aside your own life. We've got to save them one by one.
Welcome to another jam-packed episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important news from the sports card hobby. We'll have some debates, opinions, new release schedules, and info. Plus, we'll also discuss the sports that so directly affect the hobby we all love. We'll mix in an occasional gambling tip or two, throw in some life stuff, and bring you great guest interviews from the hobby and sports dignitaries. And if you're good listeners, we may even give away a few things now and then. Now, here's the guy who wanted the cards and not the gum, John Newman.
Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman. Hello, Newman.
Hello, Sports Card Nation. Sports Card Nation podcast, episode 41. Great show today. Got a great guest and our new sponsor, Steve Chada from One of One Card Shop. And these guys do it right. Family-run breaking business. Steve, frankly, in my opinion, is one of the best breakers in the business. And, you know, when this recent awards nominees came out for best breaking companies, honestly, I thought he had a very good chance, one-on-one, of being on it. In my mind, he should have been. But you know what? He's the kind of guy who doesn't need those sort of things. And we have a great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. He's going to tell you really how he started from really entry level. And, you know, even when he first started doing breaks, he did it kind of different than a lot of people did. He really, you know, I hate to quote a song, but he kind of started from the bottom, and now he's here. And he's very here. And, I mean, he's got a great community that, you know, whether you're buying into a break or not, you're in that chat room, they're talking sports. He's one of the most congenial breakers I've ever seen. He interacts with everyone, whether you spent money with him or not. That's kind of rare. It's not very common in the breaking industry, and he makes you really feel part of his community. And he's a guy I've been following for a while. I approached him at the National and got to meet him in person. I had a conversation or two before that online, and I really just wanted to have him on and talk about what he does and how he got to start. And then, you know, I couldn't think of anyone. We had a breaking sponsorship open, and really he'd be he's probably my top choice, and thankfully he's become part of the podcast family. So happy to have Steve on the show today. Great conversation. You know, he's also going to talk about the mental aspect of breaking, you know, long days. And, you know, at first, before he went full time, he was balancing the breaking business along with his regular job. And it was very difficult. And I was going to tell you, he didn't get much sleep. It was affecting him, you know, in many ways. And, you know, I want to speak in behalf of breakers. I've said this on the show before. They've saved the hobby in a way where that wax consumption always constantly really sells out. If it wasn't for breakers, not as much wax would be moved and opened and that sort of thing. So a very vital lifeline of the hobby, and Steve's one of the best. And he's gonna bring you inside that world, you know, and tell you that it's, you know, as much as he enjoys it and has fun with it, there's a lot of work involved too. And sometimes when you're on the outside looking in, you don't always see the non-glamorous side of breaking. So he's going to bring you in that world, like it or not, and kind of show you the whole 360 of the breaking industry. And I think you'll find that conversation very refreshing, interesting, and a little bit different than typical breaking interviews with breakers. So I know I really enjoyed it. And we're going to have him back on because I had a whole another segment I could have did with him because that's how interesting what he does is and he is. So we'll have him back as well somewhere down the line. This is also going to be our first ever NFL season preview episode. Now, when we started the show back in November 10th of 2018, obviously the NFL season was already in progress, so it was too late, obviously, to do a season preview when the season already started. But we're going, we did it for Major League Baseball. We're going to do it for NFL on this show. I hope you find it interesting. Not to be conceited, but I'm really am a football guy. I've coached it. It's my favorite sport. Truthfully, I'm a huge Steeler guy, as you may know if you listen to the show. But I'm also a realist. I don't just pick the Steelers when I don't think they're going to be the pick, and you might find my picks interesting. What I'm going to do with the preview episode today is go division by division, talk about some players in the division, pick the division winners in each of the 8 divisions, and then I'll tell you what the 2 wild cards from the AFC and NFC are. I'll pick award winners ahead of the season start. Who will win Rookie of the Year? Who will win MVP? And those sort of things. And what I might do is even give award winners by conference rather than overall. So we get a couple candidates in there. After I pick the playoff teams, the 6 playoff teams in each conference, I will tell you who the final will be, the conference championships in the AFC and the NFC, who comes out of that, and then who I see winning the Super Bowl. So, and I like to, I did that for baseball. It'll be interesting. I'm going to go back and listen to that show here when the baseball season winds down and see how close I came with my picks, and I'll do the same for football. If I venture a guess, I'm probably going to be more accurate on the football end of things, but you never know. So it's going to be something we do traditionally as long as we're on the air. And so, Matthew McConaughey, what do you say we start the show?
All right.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast, now on 10 platforms: iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Radio Public, Anchor, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Castbox, and Overcast. Listened to in over 26 countries globally, Sports Card Nation Podcast is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, all our great guests, and our tremendous sponsors for making us what we are today. As always, without you, there is no us.
All right, it's time for What's Crackin'. Time for our hobby segment, also known as What's Crackin'. A lot of stuff cracking in the hobby world. Zion Williamson's got the hobby ablaze, if you will. But before we get to that, let's get the release schedule taken care of. On September 11th, we have 4 products being released. 2019 Upper Deck Marvel Premiere. 2019 Topps UFC Chrome. 2019 Topps WWE Women's Division. And TriStar Hitting Treasures Game Day Jerseys Football. On September 13th, 2 products being released that day, starting with 2019 Panini Spectra Football, and what will, I'm sure, be the hotter of those 2 products, 2018-19 Panini Immaculate Basketball. And that thing is probably going to be scary. what the Zions that come out of that are going to go for. And let's talk about, when we talk about hobby news right now, it's got to be Zion Williamson. He's dominating hobby talk, the auctions, as far as when it comes to modern day cards. And the Contenders draft is out. The regular product, not the first off the line. Well, that's out too. So I wanted to get my numbers right. All the following Zions that I'm going to talk about right here are all, according to eBay, sold, completed listings. Now, whether the money actually exchanged hands, I can't attest to, obviously. Only the buyer and seller can truthfully confirm that. But these are all, under search terms, sold, completed listings. So I'm going to go in order from most amount of money to least. A 1-of-1 printing plate brought $50,000, at least on paper. But another printing plate, Scion plate, brought $3,500. A dual auto with R.J. Barrett brought $2,700, and that was only numbered to 5. That's a little surprising. I thought it would be a little more than that based on what the other ones brought, but that's according to eBay. A Optic Mojo numbered to 10 brought $13K. So yeah, I didn't go in exact order here as far as most money. Sorry about that. Another Contenders auto to number to 20 brought $1,200. An Optic Green numbered to 5 brought $7,800. Now these are all completed lot listings. The auctions are done. That was the final bids. Again, whether the money actually traded hands, that I can't attest to. But at least on paper, it looks like those are completed auctions. Now, there's quite a bit of auctions ongoing with bids, but the highest ones with bids is a School Colors auto, number to 5, making the rounds on social media. With 4 days remaining here on Thursday when I'm recording this, $99,900. So there's a lot of other ones listed, including some that are buy it now, more than the $99,000. But as far as with bids, that $99,900 School Colors number to 5 is the leader, at least on paper with bids. So this is crazy. And then you got Immaculate coming out next week, and that'll add more fuel to the fire. And it's just insane. And man, can you imagine? If something happens to this guy, he blows out his knee, or he's not the dominant force everyone's pegging him for. I mean, this thing could get sideways if something like that happens. So I'm not gonna lie, this is fun to watch. Obviously I'm not bidding or buying any of these cards. I'd love to pull one and sell it immediately. I think that's sort of a no-brainer. I mean, when you think about, if that card does sell for over $100,000, you can't have any buyer's remorse there. I don't care if he turns out really to be the best player of all time, which, I don't think that's going to be the case, quite frankly. So sell while the ceiling's super high. It really can almost only go, it's crazy. It almost could only go down from here, and he hasn't even played yet because, these prices that are being obtained or bids that are being put in, it's just astronomical, and he's got to live up to that billing. That's a real tall order. I'm not saying it can't be done, or he might not be a great player, but that's yet to really be seen on the next level here, and people are buying in almost on blind faith. I mean, I know he's got his college career at Duke that people are basing that on, but the NBA is a different animal, and so it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out with what people are paying and paying for, what future pools come out, and what they realize on the open market. And when the NBA season starts, is Zion going to live up to this hype? It's man, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I'm not saying he isn't a great player, but think about the hype already with this guy. And, I thought Shaq Mania was crazy back in 92. And we obviously didn't have the high-end stuff then that we have now. So it's hard to compare those eras. But this is honestly insane. And I guess the good thing is going to get a lot of people into basketball, which is already a popular card collecting segment. But I think you're going to get people, maybe not card collectors, almost like buying a lottery ticket. It's like, I'm guilty of this myself. I'm not really a lotto player, but when the Mega Millions gets into where they're making the news and they're reporting about it, I'll go to my local supermarket and put $5 down on $5 worth of Quick Picks and just kind of take a shot in the dark. Obviously, a real long shot in the dark. But just, you never know, that you never know type of attitude, and makes me wonder if that's going to happen with, basketball products. People are just, is a grandmother just going to, trickle down to her, hear about this, and try to buy some product. I know that's, kind of a bad analogy, but are people that are not really deep in the hobby going to seek out basketball packs in hopes of, air quotes here, hitting a Zion auto? And it's crazy. And all these prices I just gave on these eBay auctions are just the autograph cards. I mean, I could have listed a whole page more of, cracked ice and low numbered base cards that are four figures as well. So this thing is I mean, I'm not naive. I knew this was going to happen. I've been in this industry a long time, but even I'm, a little bit surprised by the amounts. Again, I don't know if the money's exchanged hands officially, but these are completed, sold auctions. So at least on paper, that's what it looks like. So the crazy time of basketball collecting, Zion Williamson. And, 10 years from now, it'll be interesting. Will we look back and say, man, can you believe that, what those prices were getting back then? Or will we say, man, that was a great buy at $100K. Now it's $500K, I don't think I think the former will be more true than the latter, but, that's half the fun about this, is to see where this goes, where his career tracks, and how these intertwine. So buckle up and enjoy the Zion ride.
Hey guys, this is Matt from Firebox Sports Card Cases. In our hobby, there are so many different ways to collect. From group breaks to singles, Hall of Fame vintage to prospect autos. No matter how you collect, you place a premium on your cards. With our durable aluminum frames, precision cut foam inserts, locking closures, and detachable shoulder straps, Firebox will be the only case worthy of your collection. Firebox offers 3 unique cases so you can choose the option that best fits your collecting style. Whether you want the most graded capacity, the versatility to seamlessly switch between raw and graded cards, or hands-free buying, selling, and trading with our first-of-its-kind collector's hardshell backpack, Firebox has a solution for you. There is plenty of fire to pull in today's hobby, but the hobby isn't in the junk era anymore. So why are you still storing your collection in boxes made of junk? Go to fireboxcases.com today and use promo code SCNPOD to get 10% off your order of a premium case to reflect your premium cards. That's fireboxcases.com, promo code SCNPOD to start bringing the heat with you wherever you go.
Real excited to have my next guest on the Sports Card Nation podcast. He goes by the name of Steve Chada, but more commonly known for One of One Cards. He's a breaker. I've gotten to know him in the online form, and I got to meet him at the National. I had a conversation with him, told him I love him to come on the show. He's very busy, but he was gracious enough to squeeze out a little time for us and come on the program. And so welcome, Steve.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you thank you for being on. I guess, the old standby question is how'd you get in the hobby? How did it all come about?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a '91 baby, so I'm a young guy.
Yeah.
When I was just starting out, we had a card shop right up the street. My dad would take me up to the card shop, and he was really interested, in those tobacco cards, those early day cards. And I was, honestly, as a little kid, I was more interested in Pokemon cards. I mean, that was my thing.
Yeah.
For the first couple of years. Now, my dad knew kind of something was up because all the other kids were playing with their Pokemon cards and, creasing them up. But you had me where I would put them in their, the top loader and then put them in a sealed case and put them in a case and never touch them. Yeah. So everything I bought from that card shop, I would collect. I wasn't using it as a game. I wasn't trading them. And then it kind of made an easy transition into not cards. I made a transition into starting lineup figurines. I would go garage sailing. If I found one, I bought it. I mean, if I went to when he got a new order in, I would go to the release of those starting lineup figurines at the card shop. If he had a new one, I bought it. I mean, I still have them to this day in protective, I guess hard plastic.
Yeah, the domes. Yep.
Stacked up in my dad's attic right now. And then after the starting lineup, it moved into with my dad. Then I got into the tobacco cards. So we're out there purchasing tobacco cards. Then we moved into the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and then we started doing complete sets. So we've got complete sets from 70s, 80s, 90s, everything. Just loaded inside his little man cave, we call it. And I mean, that was it. That was the start of it. He's collected his entire life. He started sharing it with me, like I said, when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and then it just kind of took off. So, it kind of reached its peak when I was about 18 years old. We were really getting heavy into cards, buying complete sets at one time, garage sailing every weekend just to find old sets and peel through them, sending cards to PSA even back then. Mm-hmm. And then what happened was college came. And with college, I didn't have time to do any of this stuff. So it kind of took it was put on the back burner for a little bit. So I stopped. That was 2009. And then I didn't touch cards. I didn't think about cards for about 5 years, 5.5 years. So I graduated college. I had heard about breaking before. I'd seen it, but I really didn't even give it any thought back in the day. I think probably the first break that I saw or that I bought into was like 2011. Cards Infinity, I think it was. I'm not even sure who it was. It was so long ago. And I bought into it, didn't think anything of it. Graduated college, then I started really getting back into it. Just because I went home, literally peeled through all my old stuff. I was looking at my starting lineup figurines and got nostalgic again. And I think that's what happens for a lot of people, though, is they're looking at their old cards, they get nostalgic, and then they see that there's this whole new world of new cards, and that's what happened to me. I was like, what is a rookie patch auto? What's an RPA? And I'm looking at this, I'm like, why is this card worth $500? I have, and the question comes up, I look at my dad and I go, Dad, we have all these cards from the 80s. Do you think they're worth $500? And then you quickly find out that mass-produced cards in the 80s and 90s aren't worth like anything. And then it's heartbreaking. It's like someone.
Listen, Stu Stone made a whole movie on that. So, so it's exactly.
And so after college, I started getting into just watching breaks, and I still didn't know what they were, nor did I buy in. So I kind of just laid idle. One of my best friends, Ian, and I tell this story all the time. One of my best friends, Ian, reintroduces me into the breaking world. we get into it really heavy. And
Yeah.
I introduced my dad into it well. So me and Ian are into it heavy. My dad gets into it sometimes, but he likes memorabilia breaks. So
Yeah.
he was doing his thing with Leaf, and we were doing our thing, me and Ian, with every other thing we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
And then one day, I look at Ian, and this one day was November of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at Ian, and I go, Ian, like, I can do this. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, what do you mean? And I said, Ian, I can break. I can do what these guys are doing. I love cards. I've loved it my whole life. I get excited over the small stuff because I truly love it. And that's the thing. People say they want to do this all the time, but you love it because it's a hobby and you're not touching it every day. You find out if you truly love something, if you can do it full time and you still love it, when you're doing it full time. That's when you find out if you really love something. And I told Ian, I was like, man, I think I can do this. And Ian goes, no. Push it. Let's not do anything. And I was like, Ian, we should start up our own company. No, I don't want to. Okay. So we put it in the back burner. A couple months later, Ian, we should really do this. Like, we really have something here. No, I don't want to. At that point he was getting married. So, he didn't want to get involved in anything because he's planning a wedding. I'm like, Ian, I really feel like we're missing the boat here. And he's like, no, I don't want to. So, this goes all the way for a full year of me telling him we should do it.
Wow.
About October of 2017 comes around, and this is when I started getting into cards. I went on Instagram for the first time. I didn't even have a personal Instagram account. And for being a 28-year-old, I guess that was pretty shocking to a lot of people because I just don't do Instagram, and I don't really do Twitter, and I'm really kind of off Facebook. So I'm really not even like a social media type guy. Yeah. And for being an extrovert, that's really weird.
Well, I think you're smarter than most is what you really are.
Yeah, I just stay off of it. And I do my own thing. And I told Ian, I go on Instagram, and somebody told me, go check out the card community on Instagram. It's really cool. So I go on Instagram, and I start diddling around on Instagram, selling a couple cards here and there, a couple like lots. Yeah. And then I accidentally swiped to the left one day. In October of 2017, I feel like it was just yesterday. I swiped to the left, and I see this little thing. It says "Go Live," and I'm like, "What is this?" And really, at this time, nobody was doing breaks on Instagram. This wasn't a thing. Yeah. No, everyone was going live to show their cards. No one was really breaking on Instagram. I don't know if you've interviewed Ryan. Have you interviewed Ryan before? Card Collector 2? Yeah. So he was. He still is a big shot. He was going live all the time. Doing just selling cards and doing like all this other stuff that I'd never heard of. I think he was like the only one. So I'd watched him a couple times. And then October, I hit the live button and I go live. And I'm literally selling packs out of retail boxes from Target. Yeah. So I go to Target. I would go buy retail boxes and I would do a break with them. But my break was a little bit different than everybody else's. Right? So... And this is where you see I've progressed. I would literally open the box on camera, open the cards, and then I would have people buy their teams after. Why I did that, I have no idea.
So they got to see it before they decided, hey.
It's so backwards.
Yeah. Well, no one, Steve, can say you weren't original. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's so backwards. I don't know why I did it, but that's just the way I started it. And I go back to my buddy Ian again. I say, Ian, last time I'm going to ask you, do you want to go 50-50? Let's throw a couple grand in, take the plunge. If you don't think that we can make it, we can just call it. We both have really good jobs. We're in sales. He loves his job. I love my job. And there's really no risk. And he said, no. And I said, all right, I'm doing this. Sorry. Yeah. So I do this full. Then I rocked it. November was my first time I really started going live all the time. Of 2017. I'd say in December of 2017 was my first break. And it was my first box break, right? Yeah. So it was an actual hobby box. Now the thing is, before I did that, I literally had done plenty of breaks, but they were all cheap retail breaks, like $1 a team, 50 cents a team. So I wasn't even making any money, right? And I would sleeve and top load every card, base card or not. That's what I did.
Imagine you still did that now.
That'd be unbelievable. I know. I mean, it's crazy to think where I was at and where I'm at now. So we progressed through the year. I started going live. I remember having a conversation after New Year's with my wife, and we talk about this. Like, I talk about it all the time, just messing with her. I had a conversation, and I asked her, I go, do you think I could ever do this full time? And she looked at me and said, Steven, don't you dare.
I thought that was going to go in a different. That's funny.
Nope. She said, don't you dare even think about it. We're talking about cards, Steven. That's what she said. I mean, this is verbatim. So I said, all right, whatever, it's fine. You know, this is my hobby. I think it could be something, but I don't know. And then, you know, throughout 2018, I kind of start to get it's a weird feeling, because I would go to my job that I loved, but I would come home and
love something more
until 3 a.m. opening boxes of cards, which to my family made no sense, right?
Yeah.
So I would work from 7 to 6, get home at 7:30 after having dinner with Jess for 45 minutes, and go, all right, Jess, I'm out. I'll talk to you in a little bit. But I'd stay until 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to bed. I'd get 3 hours of sleep, and I'd do it again the next day and the next day. All 2018, I took 5 days off of breaking.
Wow.
And everyone always asks me, that's another thing. How can you build a breaking company? Well, no days off.
Yep.
Produce content and talk to people.
Yeah, and that's one thing, Steve. And I'm gonna give you some kudos here. If anyone that's seen you in action, anyone that's seen enough breaks and then seen you in action, you can tell when a breaker really is passionate about it, enjoying it, and the banter between them and who's in the room or in on the break, and you're right there is of the breakers I've seen, if probably the best, that I've seen, and that stuff people see that, people notice that, that stuff's contagious, I believe. And I think it's probably one of the testaments of why you're successful. And like you said, you've grinded. I mean, if you don't love it, you would have burnt out. I'm sure and I'm sure you've had your days. Don't we all do? And we're entitled to them. But to put that work and time in and effort, no one can ever question your work ethic and your passion for what you do.
Yep. So I did full-time breaking, I did, busted my butt and grinded it out all 2018, like 5 days off, I think it was, 5 or 6, and I made sure I marked them on my calendar because, in 2019, I was going to look at that calendar and think, is this sustainable?
Yeah.
Like, that was my thing. Like, I wanted to document everything. I'm a numbers guy. I wanted to see if it was sustainable and see if, I could do this another year the way I just did it in 2018.
Yeah.
So I progressed from doing single box breaks. That was my thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a market still that nobody's hitting. Everybody thinks that to be a breaker, you put a case up, you fill the case, and you do a break. Why? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why are you forcing your guys to buy an $80 team?
That's the thing. It's what price level you want to be at.
Yeah. I mean, and then, so what I did was I was patient. I knew I could break cases, but why would I push that, right? So I did single boxes for a full year. People were for cases. I said no. I would do single boxes. That's it. No reason to rush into anything.
Yeah, and by doing that,
down their throats.
Yeah, and by doing that, Stevie, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. You built up that clientele, that trust, before you went heavier into it.
Exactly. That's the big thing, is trust. So that whole year, I'm doing giveaways. I'm doing, single box breaks. Everyone's getting their cards. Everyone's getting everything in perfect condition. Everything's perfect. And then, you start to, you'll slip a case break in there and see if your guys, you see if your guys can do it.
Yeah.
You have to. It's kind of like a litmus test.
Yep.
you do all the single boxes, throw a case break in. Can they fill it? Yes, they can. So do all the single boxes, then switch it up. Put 2 half cases in there, and then they fill those up. And then next week, only a case break. And then next week, 2 case breaks. And then back to single boxes. It's really it's not even like a formula, but you just have to be smart about what you're putting in front of your clientele, because number one, if you don't get burnt out, they will get burnt out.
Yeah.
And the other important thing is that I learned in 2018 is I took those 5 days off. I should have taken more off.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, just think about it from a client perspective, right? You can't think of it this way. You would never fill your gas tank up every day.
Yeah.
Or you would never drive 7 days a week, 5 hours to go get a milkshake, right?
I like milkshakes, but you're right.
Exactly. You would take a day off, take a couple days off here and there to make that milkshake taste so much better when you go get it.
Yeah.
You got to take days off, and I've learned that now that my guys need days off, I need days off. We progress through 2018, and we get to like halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through 2018, and I look at Ian, and, Ian knows he's out of the picture by now, my best friend. He looks at me and he goes, I should have taken you up on the offer, man.
I was going to ask you, is there any regret of non-buyer's remorse?
Time we meet up for drinks, I should have went in with you, man. I should have did it. And I was like, I've only asked you 15 times if you want it in. And you kept saying no. I'm not going to force your hand here. So, what was it? So my official start of my business is on my birthday, February 22nd. That was the start of 101 Card Shop. And then it was about around that date where my mom and dad started helping me sorting. Okay, so we got to the point where we're getting a little bit too big now.
Yep.
I'm doing a lot of single box breaks, so I need help. So they helped me sort, they helped me ship, and that was gravy for about a year. And then let's fast forward. I'm only doing pretty much exclusively doing cases now. And if I do single boxes, I'm doing 15 to 20 of them a day.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a single box break. It used to be 1 break a day. Now it's 20 breaks a day. So fast forward to about March 2019, this year, me and Jess, my wife, are sitting down, and we got a new house, and I look at her and I go, I really don't think I can do them both at the same time. Mm-hmm. Referencing my job and breaking. And she goes, if you want to do it, do it.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I go, I remember a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, you told me this would never happen. kind of threw it back in her face. But we had a laugh about it, and it really was getting to the point where, I was getting 3 hours of sleep a night. Yeah,
that, there's how, I don't have to tell you this. Then you get into health dilemmas and
me being 28, I'm still thinking in my head psychologically that I'm a young kid. I can do this.
Yeah.
I have the Superman syndrome where I don't get sick. I never get sick. I'm a young kid. Well, that 2018 hit me hard. Getting no sleep. I didn't really get sick, but it really messed up like my digestive system.
Yeah.
Because, you eat, but you need sleep to digest food. And I had a lot of stomach problems late 2018 that I had to get sorted out. And my doctor said it's all sleep related. Nothing that you're putting everything into your body. And you're getting 3 hours of sleep at a time. So it was it was rough. And I know Jess goes, you're going to be, we started weighing pros and the cons. You're going to get more sleep. You're going to be in a better mood. When we can hang out more because she's a teacher. So, when she comes home from work, I wasn't even home from work yet. Mm-hmm. Right. So I would literally stay at work, get home at 6, and then start breaking at 7:30. That's an hour and a half with your significant other. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's a disaster. So, and I ended up resigning from my position almost on my birthday, early March. A lot of people weren't happy about it where I worked.
Yeah.
But I try to tell people this all the time. It's not about what other people think.
Nope. You're right. I
can tell you today that I am making less breaking But what I make less in, I make up for, and I am so happy doing what I do.
Yep.
I'm not driving an hour and 30 minutes to work through rush hour traffic.
Yep.
I'm seeing my wife 4 hours a day.
Yep.
I'm extremely happy doing what I'm doing. I love the industry. I mean, there's so many more perks. My office, my one office mate is my 60-pound golden doodle.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's the thing too, Steve, is sometimes we put too much emphasis on a dollar amount. Not that it's not important. You got to pay bills. We all get that. But sometimes we really overemphasize that. Like you just said, the money you're saving not commuting, you're more time with your wife. You're in your home element, which that's a perk. And all that stuff adds up as in the other column as well. So some people get that, some people might not. But like you said, you can't worry about. You got to do what's best for you and your family, and that's the bottom line. I've learned. I'm 46, so I'm the old man on the porch. But it took me a little while to learn it, but. Yep. You can't please everybody. It's just it's never gonna. I don't care who you are. You could be Mother Teresa. There'll be people who wouldn't have liked you. So
exactly,
you got to do what's best for you and your stress and health level and your family. And it sounds like you did that, and that's important. So not to cut you off, but I definitely I wanted to definitely throw that in there because I know exactly what you're coming from.
Yeah, and when I left my position, I had already been thinking in my head like, I can't do this alone, right? So my parents were helping me sort. I was trying to do as much as I could on the braking, and when I stopped working at my old position, I could break until 3 a.m. because I could get 6 hours of sleep now, right?
Yeah.
So I would now break even more than I was. And I really found an uptick in business and then in breaking when I left my old position. So I'm starting to really flourish, right? I'm starting to really grow. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this by myself. So on one of my off days, I drive up to my mom's work and I walked into her office and said, let's go to lunch. And I said, how would you feel about and could you essentially retire and work with me with 101 Card Shop?
Yeah.
Full time. And she was like, she was in the very same situation I was. She had a really good job, but she was on my dad's benefits. So my dad has really good benefits. And that's the whole key in this.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's healthcare.
Yeah.
My wife's a teacher, so she has government healthcare, or government benefits. So she goes, I think it's possible, but we'd have to, crunch numbers, and that's a big thing. Leaving your
it's a big decision. Look, even how you handled, you know what I mean. It took you a little bit until you knew you could really pull it off.
Yeah, I told her. I had an honest conversation with, it's me, Jess, my mom, and dad. We all sat down, and I looked at all three of them. We're all four together, and I said, Mom, we can go get our office jobs whenever we want.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a desk for us to go sit down at. I mean, when's another time that you're going to say that you can work side by side with your son growing, what is essentially now a family business, right?
Yeah.
Never. No one, very rarely does that happen. So she literally, next day, didn't even tell me, puts her 2 weeks in, and as I'm at home sorting cards, I get a knock on my door, and she comes in for her first day, the very next day.
I'm here.
And I was like, oh, no. Did this really just happen this quick? And then that's the other thing that you realize, right? So it's not like the old days where you put a 2 weeks notice in and they let you stay the 2 weeks and figure it out. When I put my 2 weeks notice in, they just told me to walk.
Oh, really?
And I had been there for 8 years.
Did you tell them what you were planning to do, or did they think maybe you were going to like a competing?
No, so I told them, I have enough respect for those guys. They're my really good friends. I said, I'm going to do my own thing for a little bit. I never told them what they were doing, and I kind of kept 101 Card Shop in the shadows from really everybody that I ever knew. The only people who knew about it this whole entire time before I went full time was Jess, my mother-in-law, my mom, my dad, and my brother. That's it.
Yeah.
And Ian, obviously, but
yeah.
But I mean, I worked there for 8 years. I told them, promised them I wasn't going to get back into the industry again, but they just had me walk, and that shows you right there that a company will be a company, not a family setting. When they just you go in, you put your 2 weeks in, and they just say, all right, you're good. See you later.
Yeah, which probably made, I don't want to speak for you here, it's more of a question, but it's kind of a statement. It probably made you feel a little bit more comfortable in your decision when they probably reacted as such.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the same thing that happened to my mom. She puts her 2 weeks in, and they just said, see ya.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Like, oh, I thought, I thought we were at, it makes you think, like, two things. I thought we were at a different point in, our working relationship for you to have enough respect for me to keep me for 2 weeks and help you guys out because I'm important. And then you realize that you're not. And then two, you made the right decision.
Yeah.
So
it's different era, than years ago. Again, old man on the porch moment. But even with companies, there's there's not a lot of loyalty coming back from that way. A lot of these companies, you're kind of employee number, whatever. Unfortunately, so. Like you said, to be able to do what you do, you have a passion for it, you love it, and you get to do it with family who obviously you love and care about. And that's, like you said, how many people can really say that?
Exactly.
So you built it up, and one thing I noticed too with you, Steve, you're great with dates. Like I can't remember what I had for dinner last night, and you're spot on with your dates, which it shows your attention to detail, which is a great trait to have, and you're doing well. But like in any industry, I know we spoke before we came on the show. I've had an issue with some sales with a chargeback or two, and I know I hate to bring up bad things, but it's something I'm sure you're not the only breaker that's had to deal with them, but it's something that you've had to deal with recently, and it may, even though it doesn't affect me as someone who cares about the hobby and people trying to make an honest living and who do it the right way, when you see that happen to someone, it really rubs me the wrong way. So if you kind of speak to that and how you deal with that and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that's really a point to make. And that leads us, perfectly into the next discussion of, I do what I love, and everybody watches me break, right? So you're watching me break. Hundreds of people every time I go live watch me break. And what you see is a fraction of what really goes on with running your own breaking company. And one of those things that you have to deal with is the not pretty side of breaking, which is chargebacks. It's really it's awful. So I'd say at any given time, I'm dealing with anywhere from 15 to 20 chargebacks at any given time.
Yeah.
Per month, I would probably put it at 25 chargebacks per month.
Wow.
Split between Shopify, split between PayPal. Now, PayPal, I'm 100% successful on defending chargebacks on PayPal. PayPal does a really good job for me, at least. I can speak for myself, for protecting me and the seller when it comes to chargebacks. Now, Shopify, on the other hand, is a little different. I just got hit with a huge chargeback on Shopify, and I lost it. I'm 0 for 1. So as of right now, I don't have any confidence in Shopify whatsoever. But at the same time, it's frustrating because there's no other avenue you can go, right? So with the chargeback through Shopify, and what people need to realize is like, and I hear this all the time, and I want to clear the air for everyone who is listening. you're a breaker. You get comments like, you're a breaker. You can make that money back. You're a breaker. You make a lot of money. You can, you'll make that money back tomorrow. So let's set the stage here really quick. On average, I make between $100 to $150 in profit per case, right?
Yeah. I
was charged back $2,500.
Wow.
So take $150, and
that's 20 cases.
That's,
almost about 18.
18 cases of profit, right?
Yeah.
That is, I'm not kidding you, 3 weeks of work taken away from me.
Yeah.
In profit. So when people say like, "Oh, you can make that money back tomorrow," or the next, that's not how it works, right? That's all that profit is taken away. So when I look back, it can get really discouraging because you're like, you just did 18 cases 3 weeks ago, and now all that was for nothing because he just charged you back for it. And the other thing is Shopify works a little different than PayPal. The timeline is very different for a chargeback on Shopify than it is for PayPal. Shopify is a 90-day window.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're notified of a chargeback, they have 90 days, and they will 100% of the time use 90 days to figure out who wins the case.
Yeah.
So what they do is, for Shopify, they take your money out first. So 2005, I woke up on a Monday.
So you're guilty before proven.
Yep, correct. I woke up on a Monday, got notified that I had gotten charged back, 17 chargebacks totaling just over $2,500, and out of my account. Here's the problem with that. $2,500 out of my account on a Monday. Mondays are when breakers pay for all of their releases.
Yeah, yep.
So I have to pay for a Wednesday release on a Monday. And $2,500 is that's about a third of every Monday's payment that I have to come up with.
Yeah.
So that week I didn't get a paycheck that week.
Yeah.
And when you're doing this on your own, and this is your job, and that's the other thing about running a company by yourself. You're working for an organization. You get a paycheck every other week, no matter how crappy you do that week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With breaking, you have to break X to get to Y. Break Y to get to Z. That's what you got to do. And when you get $2,500 taken away on a Monday, and you have to somehow find that $2,500 to pay for a product, you're really in a pickle, because that money, that product that I need, pays for the to chip away at that chargeback.
Yeah.
And if you don't have money to pay for the product to chip away at the chargeback that you just got hit with, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the Shopify takes 90 days, and you have a week to submit all of your evidence. And the chargeback for me is very simple. It's deemed fraudulent. So, and I said this, before to many people, but when somebody claims something as fraudulent, you have a very slim chance to win that case.
Yeah.
And it sucks, because when something's deemed fraudulent, that means that your customer's financial institution is going to be the deciding factor, right?
Yeah.
And, if your customer's financial institution is the deciding factor, you're pretty much you're going to lose, because they don't care about you. They care about their customer.
Yeah, they don't want them going to another credit card company.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a conflict of interest. It's a huge conflict.
Conflict of interest is an understatement. They care about their customers' assets. And where do they store those assets? In that financial institution's vault. So they want to protect their client as much as they possibly can. They don't care about me. They think, he's a business. He can recoup it just like everybody else. But that's not the case.
Tax write-off. There's a tax write-off for that guy.
It's so frustrating.
Now, I got to be honest with you, Steve. I'm a little naive when it comes to Shopify. Is there a way you could just say, you know what, sorry guys, sorry everybody. I've just had some bad experiences with them. I can't deal with that particular outlet anymore.
So Shopify is my website host, so I can't say that, right?
Yeah.
So the Shopify is where my website's hosted on. So Shopify helps me out so much on the back end by taking me out of the equation to confirm people's break spots, that I would never get rid of it, because I can't afford to message 11,000 people telling them here's how this break works, this is how this break works, this is the teams that are left. It'd be crazy. But But the thing that I found out, obviously, of course, after the back charge is that there is something called back charge insurance, believe it or not, which kind of sucks if you think about it even more, because back charge insurance costs me 1% per transaction.
Yeah.
So if you're killing it, and insurance is insurance, right? You don't know whether you're going to need it or not, but it's there. Okay. Yeah. So if you're killing it and you're having a really good month, you can almost guarantee that you have 1% taken off the top.
Yeah.
Every month. Which is, in the grand scheme of things, it's okay, because you think you would rather take 1% than $2,500 out of your account on a Monday, right?
Yeah.
So post chargeback, I found out that we could get that insurance, and I ended up doing that, and it's already saved us, I think, like $1,200 in chargebacks.
Yeah. Well, so, it's funny not knowing that Shopify was your platform for your website. It's sort of like a double sort of conflict of interest. You think they also protect you for who's loyal to them and using their platform. You know what I mean? On the same.
Only if you're paying them 1% to do it. On top of your monthly website subscription.
Yeah. So everyone's got a hand in the till, as they say.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Well, at least, like you said, 1% can add up, especially when you know the volume you might be doing, but it's probably peace of mind too that you're not going to have that big chunk 90 days not accessible and affect your business and the bottom line and be able to obtain stuff you need to continue to be successful. So, you did your homework, which is always a plus. I think a lot of people in business sometimes don't do that and take it on the chin, and maybe that's why they're not in business sometimes any longer. But you're smart. You're kind of staying ahead of the curve, and like I said, you're one of the guys. I'm not just saying this. You do it right. I don't take this. I watch a lot of your breaks. I don't buy into them, so don't take it where I'm not dealing with you. I'm just not a buyer in the breaks. But when I watch them, you're one of the guys I definitely watch, because, like I said already, that passion that you exude, and it's contagious. You can tell when someone's kind of going through the motions, and you can tell when someone's really enjoying the moment. And when you hit a big pull, and you can tell you're genuinely happy that person's going to be receiving that card, and you're glad, and that stuff comes shining through. I know the other thing you do is when you ship, you use the gold bubble mailers, which I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, even just something as simple as that, and people love it, and you got your seal with the 1-on-1 and all that, those little things, those little touches. This, I'm preaching to the choir here, but those little touches is what really can make the difference with people. And you do a great job. I don't have to tell you that, but you do a great job with it. You stand out. Here I am, not someone that buys into breaks, and I know what you're doing. So you gotta be doing something really, really, really good. So
yeah, and to just expand on your point, I've got anywhere in my live videos, 65 to 75 people at one time. They're not all buyers.
Yeah,
I'd say that the only reason why my live videos are more my live videos are more fun than other live videos is because I have 50 people who just come in there to talk sports.
Yeah.
My live videos wouldn't be what they are if I didn't have the guys who didn't buy in and only wanted to come in and talk, right? So I can't be the only guy in there talking, because it gets really boring sometimes when it's only me and it sounds like a sales pitch. Hey guys, join my break, So if we can get going on a hot topic, we were going off on Andrew Luck all week this week, and we had conversation for days on that live feed. And when you can spurn conversation and you can start talking about different topics and getting people involved who never really talk and they start to feel involved, like they belong in the chat. That's when you really start to take your business to the next level. Is when people start to realize, like, hey, I don't need to come in here and give this guy money to hang out. I can come in here, hang out, talk with a couple buddies, and meet some new people, and then I can leave. I don't need to spend money. And when you get to that point, that's when you have built something successful.
Yeah, and that person, when they may not always be just an observer, they may say, hey, you know what? I'm jumping in the pool. I'm going to get in my first break. Where do you think they're going to go? Because they were treated as such and with respect and allowed to banter. And so it's just, like you said, it's a community feel. Everyone's welcome, and that's really important. That's what it's about. And you may have future customers in there, like you said, even with yourself. When you first started, you were just going and watching breaks, and then you got into them. So I think there's always the chance that someone's going to convert and be a consumer rather than just always an observer. So
exactly, yeah.
So you do it right. You only have to talk to you for 5 minutes to know you're an intelligent guy. You think about your business, your family, your customers, and when you find someone that does that, you need to appreciate people who do that sort of thing, and I think people do. I know I do, and I think how successful you are, I think attest to that as well. So, Steve, I know you're busy. How many hours of sleep are you getting nowadays?
Well, that's the thing. So I go to sleep probably at like 3 in the morning every night. Three at night after every live feed. And then I'm waking up anywhere from 9 to 11. So we're getting at least 6 hours.
Yeah. That's what I'm older, obviously at 46, but I get about 6 to 7. So you can find. If I can function, I'm sure you're doing all right. You're doing better than the 3 hours you were getting. Let's put it that way for sure.
Yeah, that was in a rough spot then.
Yeah, I don't care how old you are. That's tough, So
that's definitely tough.
Yep. So again, thank you for being gracious with your time. You're welcome back anytime if you want to promo anything. But I always give all my guests, Steve, kind of the final word. Give out any of your social media handles, your website, where people can find One of One, and check out what you're doing. Buy into breaks if that's what they want to do. You ain't gonna find really a better one in the business, in my honest opinion. So the floor is yours here.
I appreciate it. So yeah, if you guys are all listening, head over to Instagram. That's where I do probably 100% of my breaks, but 100% of the live videos, the chatting is done on Instagram. My Instagram is at One of One Card Shop, and then there are underscores in between each word.
Yeah.
So treat that as a space pretty much. So at one _of _one _card _shop. YouTube is One of One space card shop, and then if you guys want to buy into a break, head over to the website www.oneofonecardshop.com, and if you do end up on Instagram, shoot me a DM and I'll give you a nice little 10% off your first break.
There you go. Can't beat that. Way to go out with a nice little discount. So again, Steve, I want to say thanks. Thanks for throwing that little discount in there as well. 10% is 10%, so you can't beat that. So again, continued success. I'd love to have you back. I other stuff I want to talk about, but I'm respectful to your time as well.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I would love to be back. So let's set up another time, and then we can go over some other things. And I want to pick your brain next time we're on about your podcast. That's very interesting. And next time we're on, we can go at it about how you started your podcast.
It turn the tables, as they say. Yeah, I'm all for it. We'll make a plan to do that for sure.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
All right, Steve Chada, 101 Card Shop. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter at SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoy the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
It's time for From the Box Seat. All right, From the Box Seat segment, we usually talk about the goings on in the sports world with this piece, but it's football season, baby. That's what we're gonna really talk about here. Actually, not a ton going on outside of the Major League Baseball pennant races and the NFL season starting up. So we're gonna do our first ever NFL season preview show. I'm gonna go division by division, give you the division winners, give you your 2 wild card teams in each conference for your 12 playoff teams total. I'm going to give you the AFC and NFC conference final. I will pick the winners of each of those and give you the Super Bowl matchup. And I'll obviously pick a winner there. As I go through each division, I'll talk about some key players in that division, veterans, rookies, different plot lines and storylines going on. We'll pick some award winners. I'll go over who I see winning Rookie of the Year, MVP, and those sort of awards. I'll obviously mention a few guys for each of those awards. Maybe I'll just do it even by conference, the AFC MVP, the NFC MVP, the AFC Rookie of the Year, and the NFC Rookie of the Year, and so forth. So let's start with the AFC. We'll start with the AFC East. Traditionally, this has been a runaway division for the Patriots every year. Tom Brady's another year older, but this guy keeps fighting Father Time off. I think some of that skill set is starting to erode, but I also don't think the competition in the division strong enough to overtake the Patriots yet. I think it might be a little closer. I am going to pick, as much as it pains me to say it, the Patriots to win the division. I think the Miami Dolphins are in the tank for Tua mode. They're trading anything that moves, and it looks like they're trying to lose games. Rumor has it they have their sights set on Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama as their next guy. It's going to be a long year for Miami. I think between Miami, Cincinnati, those are the 2 top bets to have the worst record in football, and maybe the number 1 pick. So if I'm Andy Dalton, not to get out of division, but if I'm Andy Dalton, I wouldn't get too comfortable in Cincinnati either. But let's stay with the AFC East. I picked the Pats. I think their main competition is going to come from 2 teams that are probably going to have similar records against each other, and that's the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. I think the Jets will be the second place team. I really like Josh Allen, but his style of play is conducive to getting hurt. He likes to run and dive and get that extra yard and take a hit. And, I just think he's going to get hurt at some point, and probably this year. And if he goes down, there's a big difference with that team. So I'm going to take the Jets to finish second. I'd love to see the Pats' reign of terror end, but I don't think it's going to happen division-wise in 2019. Let's go to the NFC East. All right, you got your this is a division that, you could almost make a case for a lot of the teams. I think the consensus pick from most experts is that this is the Eagles' division to lose. I tend to side with that. I think if you look at Dallas's early schedule, they could be 3-0 right out of the gate, with or without Ezekiel Elliott, who actually just signed tonight. So he'll be in the fold. They won't be without him. So, again, another team I'm not a big fan of, but, I have to be honest, they're probably going to be the contender in the NFC East. I think the Giants and the Redskins are kind of similar teams in the fact that I don't think they have all the pieces in play to contend for that division. They're both sort of rebuilding / reloading, if you will. Washington's not handing the reins to Dwayne Haskins just yet. And the Giants sort of want to hand the keys to Daniel Jones, and how long can Eli Manning hold him off? Saquon's the best player in the NFL. The Giants have that going for them. They do have an improved offensive line. So the Giants could be kind of a dark horse, non-favorite that maybe makes some noise and finishes better than some predict. I'm going to go with Philly and Dallas as the two top teams in the division. And I can make a case for either one winning. I'm going to go with the Eagles, but I would not be shocked if the Cowboys win that division. Let's go back to the AFC, into the AFC North, my personal favorite division, as my Steelers play there. A lot of people, the Browns are the darling of a lot of people, and it's not a position they're used to being in, to be a favorite. They used to be the laughingstock of the NFL. Those days are over. They got a quarterback now in Baker. They've got a real GM and with Dorsey, and they got a coach that is probably going to be pretty good in Freddie Kitchens. They obviously got some of the best receivers in the game with Jarvis Landry and now OBJ in the fold. And so they're kind of balanced attack. I will say this, and as a Steeler fan, it might be crazy to say, but I'm kind of glad Cleveland's back. You like those rivalries. I think they've switched places with the Bengals. The Bengals will be the doormat of that division. I think the Ravens, and maybe it's because I don't like them, but I think the Ravens are going to really have a drop-off. I'm not a Lamar Jackson guy. I think he's kind of a one-trick pony. He did have success last year, but I think teams are going to break down film on him. They've seen him now, and they're going to gear up to make him throw to beat them. I don't think he can do that. A lot of people still think the Ravens win this division. I'm not one of them. I think they finished third. I think this is going to be Browns and Steelers in some order. I'm going to pick the Browns. But I am curious to see, now with the Browns being in the unusual position of being contender, how they handle that. And there's only one football, and Baker can only throw it to Landry or OBJ one at a time. And Landry, who usually leads right up there the league in receptions, that number is probably going to go down, and OBJ might catch less than he wants to. So how is that going to work? Is there going to be discord? Is there going to be some disgruntledness amongst those guys? And now Baker's coming in as the starter, where last year he didn't come in with that pressure initially. So that's a whole different perspective. I want to see how that team handles the lofty expectations. I'm going to still pick them to win the division. Maybe part of that's not to be a homer with my Steelers, but I think my Steelers are going to be right there. They reloaded, a big weakness with acquiring Steven Nelson to fill that cornerback position that's been so dreadful alongside Joe Hayden. And we all know we miss Ryan Shazier and that speed sideline to sideline, and I believe the Steelers may have found Ryan Shazier 2.0 by trading up with the Broncos and getting that number 10 pick and selecting Devin Bush, a guy I really, really love. So those sleeping on the Steelers, they may be in for a surprise. You lose AB, you lose Le'Veon Bell. Technically you don't lose Le'Veon Bell. He didn't play last year. You lose AB, but that seems to be addition by subtraction. He's a head case. And a lot of that, I hate to blame it on one thing. I think he's an odd guy, but he really got weird after the Vontaze Burfict concussion that he suffered on the Burfict hit. So he's going to be the Raiders' problem. I think the Steelers did a great job via draft and free agency to sort of fill that hole. I think Juju steps right in as the number one. They don't really miss a beat. You got Dante Moncrief. You got James Washington, who looked great in the preseason. And so I think they're going to be fine offensively. I think defensively they've filled a couple holes. And I wouldn't be shocked, and I hope I'm wrong in my Cleveland pick, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers win this division. And obviously I'm hoping that. But I'll pick Cleveland, and I'll pick the Steelers to be right there with them. So let's go back to the NFC North. This is a division where you can almost make a case for 3 of the 4 teams. And a lot of people even think Detroit's going to step up the second year under Matt Patricia. So you got Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago, and Detroit. I'm going to go with, it's really, to me, Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago. I don't know if Green Bay has that workhorse running back that I think they need to put them over the top. I'm not sold on Trubisky being the elite quarterback that a lot of people believe. He's, to me, doesn't win those elite type quarterback games. As a matter of fact, I think the opposite sort of happens. Minnesota didn't have a great year last year, but I think they bounced back. I'm going to go with Minnesota, maybe as a surprise team to return to kind of glory under Mike Zimmer and win this division. So let's go back to the AFC, to the South. You got Tennessee, the Colts, Houston, and Jacksonville. Indianapolis obviously would have been a big favorite with Luck in the fold. But I think as good as Brissett is, I think that he's a different quarterback. I think they have their struggles. Tennessee doesn't know what quarterback they're really going to wind up with. That's a 50-50 with Tannehill and Mariota. I think Derrick Henry steps his game up and has a very good year. But I just, Mike Vrabel's proved he can coach in this league. I just don't think they're ready for prime time just yet. I think, some people have kind of mocked some of the Texans' recent moves, trading Clowney. But they got a great piece in Laramie Tunsil to protect Deshaun Watson. And I'm going to be honest, I was wrong on Deshaun Watson. I didn't think he was going to be a great quarterback. I think he is. He got sacked over 60 times last year. That's an issue. I think that Houston first 2 picks were linemen. Now they traded for Tunsil. I think they know if they can keep Watson upright that he's going to put up numbers. I think he'll be more upright this year. I don't see a repeat performance of over 60 sacks. I think he makes plays and proves, as crazy, I never thought I'd say this, but Deshaun Watson's elite quarterback in the NFL, maybe top 5, maybe top 3. Now he's going to have more protection, maybe a little bit more time. I think he's going to make plays. I think this is Houston's division to win. I think Jacksonville still got a real bad hangover from last year and some clubhouse discord with Jalen Ramsey and crew, and so I think they'll be better than last year. I really think they almost have to be. That was not a great year at Jacksonville. Bortles is not there no more. They got Nick Foles under center. They'll be improved, but I just don't think they'll be improved enough to win this division. So I'm going to go with the Texans in the AFC South. Heading back to the NFC South, you got the Buccaneers, the Panthers, the New Orleans Saints, and the Atlanta Falcons. I think Brees showed his skill set eroding towards the end of the year. It sounds crazy, but I think that continues. I don't see Drew Brees as one of those upper echelon quarterbacks no more. He has weapons in Michael Thomas, Traquan Smith. They got backs in Kamara, but I don't see them getting it done. I think it's going to be Atlanta or Carolina, and Carolina has some nicks. And Atlanta, another down, had a bad year last year. I think Atlanta is primed to rebound. Matt Ryan had not a Matt Ryan year last year. I think he is young. He recovers, has a Matt Ryan type MVP type season. And not a lot of people are picking him. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons, and I think the two teams kind of pushing them are going to be Carolina and New Orleans. I know New Orleans is a lot of people's favorite pick, but I think the Breeze drop off in skill set might be too much to overcome there. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's go back to the AFC West, which are Denver Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders have really cleaned house, added a lot of new pieces, including a new wide receiver, Cadillac, and Antonio Brown. But with Antonio Brown comes a lot of baggage and a lot of distraction. I don't know how that's already playing in the locker room. Josh Jacobs is going to be a solid running back. I don't think he's going to be what a lot of people think. And defensively, they still got some holes that they haven't filled with the departure of Khalil Mack. So I think Oakland will be better. How will they be better enough to compete? I don't think yet. I think they're moving in that direction, but they're not there yet. This is the Kansas City Chiefs division to lose. I think the Chargers will be in the mix, but I think they'll have a little drop-off. Again, Phillip Rivers, a year older as well, and that clock is ticking with the best quarterback not to win a Super Bowl, and he's going to be one of those names probably on that list. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think Denver is, again, sort of a 500, maybe 8-8, 9-7, at best 10-6, and I honestly don't see 10-6 under the direction of Joe Flacco. So I'll go with the Chiefs, pushed by the LA Chargers, with the Chiefs winning the division. Let's finish out the division winners by going back to the NFC West. You got Seattle, San Francisco, the LA Rams, and the Arizona Cardinals under the new leadership of Cliff Kingsbury and his new prized possession, Kyler Murray. While that might be an exciting and better brand of football, I don't necessarily think it equates to more victories. I think there are going to be some serious growing pains in Phoenix, so I don't see them as a threat. Most people figure this is the LA Rams division. I still feel that way. San Francisco is really, everything's going to hinge on the back of Jimmy G. You got a new toy on the defensive side in Nick Bosa, who I really like, but it's got that Bosa injury bug. And is he going to continue to get nicked up and miss time? And is Jimmy G going to be the Jimmy G of old, or the Jimmy G that did not play well in the preseason? A lot of people are leaving Seattle for dead. I'm not one of them. I think you get Jadeveon Clowney. They've retooled their defense. It's not the Legion of Boom anymore, but I still think it's serviceable and they'll get some stuff done. And Russell Wilson's one of the best quarterbacks that a lot of people don't always talk about. And they're going to be competitive. I'm not going to pick them to win the division, but I'm going to pick them to finish second behind the LA Rams. So there's your division winners. I'll go through them again, starting in the AFC. I got the Patriots, the Browns, the Houston Texans, the Kansas City Chiefs. In the NFC, I'm going to go with Philadelphia. I'm going to go with the surprise pick of the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons, probably another surprise pick, and the LA Rams in the NFC, or in the West. So those are your division winners. Now I have to pick 2 wild card teams from each conference. I think in the AFC, the wild card teams, I didn't pick them to win the division, but I'm going to go with the Steelers. And I'm not trying to be a homer. I think they've done enough to make the playoffs. They just missed last year, and I think this team is way better than last year's squad. So I'm going to go with the Steelers as one wild card, and I think the other wild card, again, comes out of the AFC West. I think the Chargers get in, and Rivers makes one last push to get that elusive Super Bowl ring that he's chasing. So the Steelers and the Chargers as the AFC wild cards. In the NFC, the wild cards, I think, I talked about Dallas and Philadelphia, that either one of those teams will win the division. I picked Philly. So I'm going to say whoever doesn't win that division is going to be one of the wild card teams. So in my case, I picked Philly to win the division. So I'll make Dallas one of the wild card. And I think the other wild card is going to come out of the NFC West in the form of the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll go with Dallas and Seattle as the 2 wild card teams in the NFC. Let's go back to the AFC. I'm going to pick the AFC Championship game. I think it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. And, I know it's going to sound like a homer pick. I think the Steelers get it done and make that AFC Championship game up against the Chiefs. On the NFC side, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Los Angeles Rams. I think Minnesota, Kirk Cousins does not get it done in the postseason, so I think they're an early out, even though I have them winning the division. And I don't think Dallas might win the division, might win the wild card, but I think they'll run out of gas come playoff time. So I'm going to go with the Eagles versus Rams. In the NFC, now to pick your Super Bowl matchup, it pains me to say it. I'd love to pick the Steelers here, but if they're playing the Chiefs, like I figure might happen, I'm going to have to pick Kansas City and hope I'm wrong. And on the NFC side of things, I'm going to go with the Rams over the Eagles. I think they still got a lot of firepower, still real good on the defensive side. It'll be enough to stifle Carson Wentz and a running back kind of light Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to go with a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl. And I'm going to go with, Pat Mahomes in his second year as a starter, third year in the league, is going to be holding up that Lombardi trophy. I think the Chiefs are ready to kind of be that team in the AFC, to be kind of what the Patriots were for many years. I think Pat Mahomes is going to have a lot to say with who wins Super Bowl rings coming out of the AFC, and I think he wins his first in early 2020. So I got the Chiefs over the Rams in Super Bowl. Let's talk about some award winners. For MVP, let's go by conference. I think you have to go with Mahomes in the AFC as a heavy favorite there. I like Juju as well to kind of pick up where AB left off. And frankly, he had a better year than AB last year. I know AB had a lot to do with that, taking some double coverage away from Juju and putting it on him. But I think Juju is one of the best receivers in this league. So he'll be in some of the MVP talk if he has the year I think he does. I think on the NFC side, might be surprise pick, but I'm going to go with, Jared Goff. I know a lot of people don't love him, but I think he just signed a new deal. I think he's going to put up some video game numbers. That team's going to win their division, and he's going to be in the mix for MVP. Another guy that I think probably is the best player in the league. If you pick the one guy I would love to start a team with, unfortunately, I don't think he has enough other players around him for them to be a playoff team. But Saquon Barkley is going to put up even better numbers than he did last year. Their offensive line is vastly improved. I think they're going to get some better quarterback play, and Barkley's going to have probably one of the best seasons in running back history. Probably not enough to make them a playoff team, but it probably will be enough to make him an MVP candidate on a non-playoff team, which I know doesn't happen that often, but I think he could buck that trend and garner an MVP award. So let's go to Rookie of the Years. Let's go by offensive and defensive. I'll just mention some candidates, if you will, not by conference, but overall. Starting offensively, I think you got to go Kyler Murray. Now, I'm not a big fan of Kyler Murray. I don't think he's going to be what many people think he's going to be, but he is the starter. He's going to play. He's going to put up some numbers. They got a fine wide receiver core there, anchored by a veteran in Larry Fitzgerald, but Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, and I'm leaving someone else out that's escaping my mind right now. But they got a very good young receiving core. They're not going to be a playoff team. I think Murray's going to make his share of mistakes, but he'll be in the mix for offensive Rookie of the Year. Another guy I really like on the AFC side. You know, everyone wants to talk about DK Metcalf and how cut and how big he is. The best receiver in the draft. The Patriots do it again. Just outsmart the room, and they took N'Keal Harry. I love the kid. I think him and Brady are going to make a fine hookup. And even as a rookie, I think he's going to put up some decent numbers. They got rid of Demaryius Thomas. They like N'Keal Harry. So I think he'll be in the mix for Rookie of the Year. You got Josh Jacobs, the running back in the Raiders. I think he's going to be in the mix too. I'm not a huge Josh Jacobs guy, but he's probably going to get touches, yards, and some touchdowns, and that'll put him in the mix for Rookie of the Year consideration. A dark horse candidate, if you will, is another running back on the NFC side, Miles Sanders from the Eagles. I don't think anyone's really kind of took that job by the stranglehold, and Philly might just decide to go with someone they consider the future at that position and may just hand him the keys. So he's sort of a dark horse candidate, if you will. On the defensive side of the awards for Rookie of the Year, I think my guy from my team, Devin Bush, is going to be my pick. I think he's going to be that much of a difference maker. He's going to put up numbers and get very noticed from the jump. I like Nick Bosa. My thing with Nick Bosa is, can he stay healthy and play 14 or 16 games? I don't know if he can. So I'm going to go Bush over Bosa. And a dark horse guy will be Cleveland Farrell with the Raiders. And I know a lot of people kind of panned that pick, myself included. I thought they picked him too high, but I think he's going to play real well and try to prove some of those doubters wrong. For overall defensive MVP, not Rookie of the Year, but overall defensive MVP, you got a lot of candidates here. I think J.J. Watt. I think you got Khalil Mack in Chicago. You know, even T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh. Aaron Donald always either wins it or right there. So, you know, it's just, you know, going back to the hobby end of things, it's sort of sad that some of these defensive superstars just don't get the hobby love like they should and like it used to be way back when. So there's my NFL season preview. I'll look back and either brag how well I picked or tell you how bad I stunk with my picks at season end. I plan to do that with my baseball picks from preseason, which I did as well. So again, don't go running to Vegas probably with any of my picks. But, I do follow the sport very closely, and I feel good about them. I know I took a couple kind of dark horse picks as far as division winners with Atlanta and Minnesota. I don't know if they both get it done, but I think one of those two probably wins that division. So if I bet 50% on dark horse picks, I'll take it. Are you tired of that standard annoying team bag? You know, the ones that get wrinkly, baggy, scratched up, and cloudy where you can't even see your prized cards anymore? I was too, until I found the answer. And that answer is crystal clear. Perfect Fit Sleeves. These sleeves are water clear and smooth as silk and are what collectors are waiting for way too long. The solution comes in every size from the smallest to the largest, including thick magnetics and graded cards. I use them. I swear by them. Find yours today at www.perfectfitsleeves.com or go to eBay and search seller Richie707, RICHY 707. You can thank me later. So that does it for this week's show. I hope you enjoyed it, folks. I really enjoyed talking to Steve Chada from One of One Card Shop and kind of get that behind the curtain look at what it is to be a breaker, what it entails, some of the sacrifices those guys make, and I'm sure if there are other breakers that are listening to the show and heard Steve, I'm sure they could really relate to some of those things as well, and it's not all roses and daisies like some people make it out to be. It's a lot of work, a lot of elbow grease and muscle and late nights and early mornings and not enough sleep all the time, and as much as cards are fun, if you don't balance out life and cards can be a burnout. And Steve was telling you, it was kind of headed that way until he made that decision to go full time, and he's never looked back. And I found the conversation interesting. I did have some more questions I was planning to ask him, but I think it's a great segue to have him come back on, and we'll revisit some of those things I didn't get to during this interview. I want to also thank him for becoming a sponsor of the show. Really, really ecstatic about that as well. So we'll see how my NFL picks did. If you want to give us some feedback, you agree, disagree, who wasn't I fair to, who did I miss on, that sort of thing. I love that stuff. That's what makes all this fun, that banter and whatnot. And I'm not going to be right on everything, but I think I'm probably going to bat over 50%, which is what I'm shooting for. I think that's a safe bet. So my favorite time of year, I'm a fall guy. I love the fall season and hoodie season, as they call it. And it's not super hot. It's not winter yet, and obviously it's football season here for us. I'm a huge Syracuse Orange fan here, living in Syracuse and Syracuse University. I'm a season ticket holder for football. They're back. They're ranked in the top 25. So that's kind of neat. I want to mention a thing I'm doing along with, I believe, 20-something other gentlemen and ladies on Twitter. I was asked to do kind of a group. They got together, and each week we got to turn in our college football rankings. It's the BCB FAM college poll. It's our Twitter version of the AP, if you will, and each week we turn in our top 25. Jonathan Coker from Cadarity Cards actually runs it and tabulates it, and then he comes out with what we compiled as a group, our top 25 as a group. So if I get that list before I release the show on Friday, I told that group I'll give that. I'll give a segment on the air, a couple minutes, and give our what we picked for our top 25. Kind of run through it real quick as well. So it should be kind of a fun thing to kind of do and see how ours stacks up against the actual AP and coaches poll. So football season, folks, I love it. I love baseball too. I love all the sports, but baseball and football, but really football, that fall season, I just right up my alley. It's my favorite season. I'm excited for it, and I hope you are as well. So another show is... Put it in the box! So with that being said, I'm going to let my man Marlon Carlson, a.k.a. Sparty Hawk, take us out.
Cougar, that's a cougar.
You've been listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. Join host John Newman next week as he gives you another jam-packed episode of all things related to the sports card hobby. And a little extra fun, too. Don't forget to check out the show on Instagram at Sports Card Nation Podcast.